Hey, Tim.
Hey, Greg.
What's Video Blocks?
Video Blocks is awesome. It's stock footage.
Like
you can
this.
See it here.
Whoa, it's a bald eagle.
That was in Colin's intro in Kind of Funny Live 1. I used Video Blocks extensively in Kind of Funny Live 1 and 2.
But no one would know if you use it Kind of Funny Live 2.
This was in one. This was in the intro to 1.
Yeah, that was in there too.
But anyways, Video Blocks is awesome. And in addition to video, there's also audio stuff. There's graphic stuff. If you're a nerd like me that edits a lot of videos, or you're just like looking at cool, pretty vistas.
Yeah,
here they are. You know, you
Video Blocks is an affordable subscription-based stock media site that gives you unlimited access to premium stock footage. This is what you use. You're a long-time customer. How long have you been a customer?
Game stuff?
Roughly.
I don't know, a couple of years. I think they've only been around a couple of years. There's a monkey. He's dancing around telling jokes.
Wow, okay. They have a library of over 115,000 video clips, After Effects templates, motion backgrounds, and more. Video Blocks is offering our fans a year's subscription for only $99. This is a $50 discount off the usual price tag for our listeners and viewers only. That's less than $10 a month, Tim. That's how math works. If you want to get it, get your yearly subscription today for only $99 at videoblocks.com/Greggy. That's Videoblocks, videoblocks.com/Greggy for this discounted offer.
One of them pullbacks, Greg.
Woo! What's up, everybody? Welcome to the GameOverGreggy show. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Hi, Greg.
It's such a rare occasion you wear the producer/seducer shirt, available at kindoffunny.com/store on this show.
Oh my God.
I should wear it more often.
Are you doing the little like arm sleeve roll up thing?
Yeah, I did.
You're so fucking trendy, Nick Scarpino.
Oh, you look like a greaser, huh?
Well, the thing is, I haven't worked out.
You going to the
months,
sock hop?
But if you roll the
The
sleeves
drive-in
up,
theater?
your arms look bigger.
I like it.
I don't know what else
Could you
creatures
shave
do.
the hair on that arm?
Did I shave the hair?
No, it's bad.
No, it is right
I'm
there.
That's
I'm
horrible.
I'm a hipster.
Do you shave it usually? It is
No,
stiffer
he
than the
needs to
rest.
shave it.
I usually have my wife near it. She starts here and then it goes the whole back.
She,
But that's
she starts here on the bicep.
That's where it ends.
Okay.
And then it starts
The
really
coat.
on the back is really the piece de resistance.
What's it going to take to get you to go some Halloween as Wolverine? Because you would be such a fucking
Halloween
dope-ass
party?
Wolverine. If only we
just
were
have to
almost
go?
through one here. Except somebody didn't want a whole bunch of extra work for no reason. And it was you.
Next year we're gonna throw a badass Halloween party. I'll go as Wolverine.
All right, cool.
What are you gonna go as? You have to go as Cyclops then.
I don't think
As a Cyclops, just one eye in the middle of your forehead.
Okay.
The rest of it
That was
covered
one
up.
way to go with it.
Happy Jubilee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course you Jubilee.
Thank you.
Over there, the pure one, Tim Gettys.
That's him. I'm not off the letting Nick off the hook with this though. I'm liking
The
it.
rolled sleeves.
It's good. I first saw that with one Raul.
Rahul. Yeah.
Rahul?
I
He
still
was
have him.
here, and
Blatantly, you
and
can
I saw
tweet
that,
that
and then after that, all the cool kids are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing it left and right. So the fact that you're doing it, it's good.
Thank you. I
It's
appreciate
good
it.
luck. Good
Appreciate
luck.
You should start doing it.
He only does everything. Colin
was thinking
Moriarty, do you want
something.
to roll your t-shirt
I was
sleeves?
going to roll it up very dramatically. But, it's good to be here. Go Islanders. And thank you for having me on my own show.
It's a
with you
pleasure.
guys.
Well, this is my show. This is the GameOverGreggy show.
It's our show.
Is it? I think Colin Greg is our show.
I don't
Super
know. I
awkward
feel like
that I'm
that's
in the
more.
middle
I
of
feel like
this
that's
right
more
now,
like
don't
my
you think, Kevin?
show. And
Love and Sex Stuff is their show.
Right.
P.S. I Love You is
I
our
thought
show.
Love and Sex Stuff. No, never mind.
Discontinued. Done.
No, I just like the
It's on
15
hiatus.
episodes with the same costumes. That was my favorite part of last season.
Fantastic.
And here,
18
the midlife baller himself, Matt Scarpino.
Hello, everyone.
Making your glorious return to the show.
One of the
yes, super
few to make
excited.
2 appearances.
Number Deuce.
It's like
Gary
you,
Whitta.
Gary Whitta, you.
And you.
Yes, in the new
think-
studio.
That you built.
Damon?
I did build this.
No, Damon's only done one.
As you can see by the
Yeah.
video.
Andrea did one. She's done a lot of Gamescasts.
Yeah.
We're never getting Michael Rosenbaum back. He's too
not?
popular now. He's too popular now. No, now
He's
we
fun.
got him when he was like, I don't know what's
He plays
going
a priest on TV now.
He's on a season 2 of his very popular TV show. He makes 100 episodes. They get that thing in syndication. We never see him again. It's over.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Then he's not really in the community.
No, don't throw
climbing
stones. He's a
team?
good.
I'm
He
just
still
saying.
he still tweets back at the kids and me and every so often.
Oh, okay.
All right, calm down.
he's a Rangers fan.
He needs to come back on the show.
Now, if somebody had missed your episode before, you are of course Nick's brother.
Still.
Yeah,
Always.
Yeah.
Since I've known him.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
how it'll be. The rest of
I've
us.
known Nick, again, this is my joke from last time, about 37 years.
Yeah, roughly. Give or take a few
Are
months.
you 30? No.
Almost. January.
You're almost 37.
37, I know.
Yes, and I'm almost 41.
Isn't that fucking weird?
It's weird to be 40, especially because I
Kevin's
share
only
your
23.
problems of pooping, but I'm older than you.
Yeah,
So
I have
as
no
Chris
excuse.
can attest, he's like, my God, he goes through so many CVS butt wipes in a day, 3 to 4 packs. But I like to be show ready at all times.
What do you do when you go on a plane with those things? Do they have to have their own suitcase?
It's very awkward when you're in the line and you're like, here's my laptop, here's my butt wipes.
Yeah.
But they just say baby. They say fresh wipes.
They say CVS fresh
if
wipes.
they
Yeah,
say
but
ba- if
everybody
they say
knows
baby wipes
what
and you
they
don't
are.
have a baby with you. Yeah,
and the baby comes out of your other pocket, and here's my baby.
No, it's super awkward because I go to the CVS by my house and I usually buy all the single packs. And so I have the little basket and I always have to buy something else.
Why don't you just buy them off Amazon like bulk in the single bags?
I might have to do that because the woman's like, do you take care of somebody that like older? Do you take care of an older woman?
Incontinent?
Do you have an incontinent animal? And I'm like, no, I shit like a FedEx driver, like all the time. I'm like a FedEx driver. No, I don't know. I'm delivering.
This is what we deal with.
I'm
Nick.
delivering the
It's
package
hereditary.
all the time. It's horrible. It's horrible.
And
I
like a FedEx. I like that. I'm gonna figure that one out. We're gonna reverse engineer that one.
Here's what
That
popped
one.
into my head. What popped into my head was UPS and Brown. Like, what fucking can Brown do for you? Like Brown.
So then you went to
poop.
FedEx.
Then I said FedEx for some ungodly
Brown
reason because I was
UPS too obvious.
Yeah.
FedEx.
Yeah,
That's where I was going
I would
with
think
that.
Less
FedEx
brown.
drivers have to poop in the bushes a lot, and then they have to use a little wipes there.
I would shit in the back of the truck.
Yeah, hell
if
yeah.
I had
Hey,
to.
have you guys ever
That's a
seen the
good
bus
point.
drivers'
That's a good point.
toilets? The public toilets, the only bus drivers.
Yeah,
use?
like the little booths that they like key in on.
It's
No,
eerie,
where
it's
is
weird.
this?
Oh, they're all
They're all
over
over
the
the place.
city.
Pay
They're just hidden
attention.
in the city. Like the bus will just
secret
pull
shit.
over and dude will just run out real quick and open a little door, and that's his shit.
Okay, that's weird.
It's weird.
to know where's
It's like either in like a public building or a little stone structure out in the middle of nowhere.
There's
that you
one-
wouldn't think was it's like camouflaged in the rest of the stone structures.
It's
and
like-
then just like a little dude walks out and he gets back on his bus.
There's
and
one by
goes
the
back
Dorian in the marina. I saw a guy going in, and what I respected about him a few weeks ago, I was walking the dog, and he knocked before he went in, just in case he was walking in on another driver also pooping.
That's good for them. They gotta poop.
everybody poops.
Did someone
Everybody
just?
does. I love that
What
book.
was that
Favorite
noise?
book. I get that for everyone that has
Did
a
someone
kid.
just vibrate? Are you
Everybody
vibrating?
poops. It's funny and
Something
true.
sounded weird.
No.
I just caught in stereo between two Scarpinos.
I'm sorry.
Nightmare.
I'm sorry. I just heard a vibration over here and I didn't know what it was. Okay.
If you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Game Over Greggy show each and every week. 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table. Each bring a random topic of discussion for your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where you can get the show early along with a bunch of exclusive goodies and perks and things like that. If you don't have any bucks to toss our way, no big deal. Head over to youtube.com/kindafunny, where we post the entire show topic by topic, day by day, until it goes up as one big thing the following Friday on YouTube and podcast services around the globe. Colin, you demanded to go first.
I did because
What do you got for me?
I think it's an important one to go first, especially because I wanted to get out there as soon as possible. Some weeks ago on the show, before Nick went to Europe, to see Harry Potter, we talked a little bit about the election, and I wanted to touch base with you guys one more time before we're going to touch base again right before the election.
Okay.
So the election's in 3 weeks from the day we're recording this. So in 3 weeks we'll touch base on it one last time.
And for context, this is being recorded before the final debate tomorrow.
Exactly. The final debate's in Las Vegas tomorrow.
Tim, you keeping up with this timeline?
He has documents.
Is
ladies
that
and
your
gentlemen.
election binder?
That's my election. This is actually
God,
my
how
notebook.
great would that be if you had every year a different
No,
notebook?
it's my notebook. Just
Oh,
sits
I
on
was
my
like,
desk right
You
now.
know he has a notebook for every different thing. Like one for the elections, one for the
his-
Jets, one for the
sausages.
Islanders, one for the sausages, one for his low protein, his low carb diet right now.
One for the poops about that come out
Yeah,
of the low carb diet. So I wanted to just touch base. I wanted to just propose. Last time when we did it, I gave you guys a few stats of where the election was sitting now, and then kind of got your thoughts on it. I want to talk about two things in particular when you guys are done, because I want to touch base on something that I think has not been touched upon too much, but there are two articles or two people talking about things that I want to discuss in a little while. But before we go, before we go there, I wanted to see what you guys think of what's happening here. I went to 538 today. We talked about them last time. It's Nate Silver's website. They're predicting like a pretty on point predicting website. Gives it 87.6% chance that Clinton will win.
Jesus.
Which is
Really?
up significantly,
That's
up
crazy.
almost 40 points in a month. They predict that the popular vote will be 49.7% Clinton, 42.7% Trump, 6.1% Johnson. There's a 26.7% chance that Clinton will win in a landslide, and there's a 91.7% chance that Clinton will win in the popular vote.
That's wild.
Wild
And that
money?
is as of when? When did you get those stats?
This morning.
Okay, crazy.
7 polls came out recently. NBC News has Clinton +6, Rasmussen +1 for Clinton, CBS News +9 for Clinton, LA Times +2 for Trump. Monmouth has Clinton up 12. ABC Wall Street Journal has Clinton up 4, and NBC Wall Street Journal has Clinton up 11. ABC News and Washington Post have unfavorable ratings at 63% for Clinton and 57% for Trump. And strong moral character, 45% think Clinton has a strong moral character, 30% think Trump has a strong moral character. Qualified to be president, 59% think Clinton is qualified to be president, 39% think Trump is qualified to be president. 62% of Americans think that you cannot trust Hillary Clinton. So those are some of the interesting statistics that I dug up recently. So where do we all sit right now?
So I have a question. So 538. How accurate were their pollings and all their surveys and shit going into this? So like over the last year, because I feel like with politics they've always been doing this stuff and they're usually fairly accurate. But I feel like every time we've talked about this election in the last year. It's always just been that like this is unpredictable and that everything's wrong and Trump kept winning. Were they one of those people? Did they get things right? Or?
I don't know. I did not read. So my suspicion is that they probably got most of the primaries right, but primaries are much more unpredictable. As far as I know, in 2012, which is when they really made a name for themselves, they got every state right in the general election. I think Indiana might have been the difference there or something like that. But they got at least 49 states right, which is good. That's how they made their name, and ESPN bought them later. Primary politics way more unpredictable, so I don't know exactly that. But they're basically just reading the tea leaves in the polling. They're not doing their own unique polling. They're just looking at everything, all the information, and then and people should go. It's really interesting. They have very interesting aggregate of like all these kind of graphical ways of looking at the election. It's very interesting, and it's swung completely to Clinton. And I agree. I think it's pretty clear Clinton's going to win. But I'm curious what you guys what are the thoughts? How's everyone feeling after the sexual tapes with Billy Bush came out and the WikiLeaks stuff with Julian Assange and John Podesta and all that kind of stuff? Have you guys been keeping up with this? And do we still feel, as we did a few weeks ago, that there were some differences at the table that Trump or Clinton would win? I'm curious what everyone thinks about that.
I mean, after the second debate, I think that it really furthered my thoughts on the whole situation in terms of I feel like the second debate was even more than the first, where it was an absolute victory for Clinton, and if you're not even looking at that side, it was a definite loss for Trump. Like, I feel like he even at some point said this feels like a 3-on-1, and I feel like it was that way. It's like I felt like even the moderators were against him, and I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I feel like they kept making points because he just wasn't answering the questions, and so they would keep badgering him to answer the questions. And unfortunately, I think that he can use that as an advantage because all he needs to say is bring it up like, oh, it's a 3-on-1, and then all the people that are rooting for him are just gonna be like, yeah, like that is what makes him win. But it's like really that isn't a victory that matters. It unfortunately could be a victory that does matter if there's enough of those people that see it that way. I hope there's not, but that's where I'm at.
Well, that's what he's been running on the entire time, right? Is that whole just ability to spin doctor things and just kind of turn things back around on people while not actually answering any questions. And I think that people are starting to get kind of tired of that. But it's weird, though, because as the sort of moderates get tired of it, the hardcores get more solidified in their beliefs about him, right? And like it just that I just read another news story. One of the women that came out against Trump had to leave the country because she was being harassed so badly by his followers or his supporters rather. And it's like, granted, that's a whole other situation that warrants its own investigation. But that's insane. That's insane that people who are like that on that level, and a lot of people draw this parallel. I don't necessarily draw the parallel, but I can see where they get it from, where they're like, this is sort of a Hitler-esque tactic, that you're rallying your base so much that people are scared of them. And that is a very, very frightening thing. And I'm actually kind of very, very glad that Trump's losing a lot of ground, simply because it was funny at first, but really the man has not answered one question yet. Really, he has no stance on anything. He's racist, and apparently it's up for debate, but he's a womanizer. So
is he?
Well, he treats women like shit, apparently. But I mean, I don't know. Those are the accusations, right? No, like he is saying no. There are multiple women that have come out of the woodworks and said he does treat them like, he has at one point either sexually harassed them or molested them in some way. And we've obviously heard him that he's suing the New York Times. We've also obviously heard him defend himself, but it's hard to defend yourself when you have a recording of you saying horrible things. Now, granted, I think the recording, like, I'll give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt for the quote unquote locker room talk, because we are all guys and we say stupid shit like that when we're in each other's confidence. And if someone were to record that and take it out of context, I can understand how people would be pissed.
I would be screwed.
But I think he takes.
Luckily,
it a
you
step.
just say it on your podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm not running for president.
That's the thing. You're not running for
Yeah,
president.
I know.
But if you did, you actually could probably get all the way to the primaries if you wanted to.
Why? Because I like to grab the giant, whatever is time.
don't know.
Well,
It
yeah,
was-
it's
it-
horrible. I mean, I don't even use that the phrasing. And
Not.
I mean, I don't
not
go to
now.
locker rooms
I
anymore.
don't use that
but
phrasing.
I don't use I don't
When
use that
Matt's
phrase.
grabbing his wife's pussy.
oh, thank God she doesn't listen to the show.
So I don't know, but I mean, again, I'll be the
just
first
depends
person to
on
say
how you come in.
I have way more paid attention to the negative on Trump than the negative on Clinton, which is funny because depending on which news outlet you're watching, it's either one is the second coming of the devil, or the other is the second coming of the devil. Like they're all like, if you watch Fox, it's all about how all the WikiLeaks with Clinton, and if you watch CNN, it's how Trump is literally Hitler. So I don't really know. All I know is that in no fucking world that I want to live in no reality that I want to live in, is Trump our president, and that terrifies me. And the fact that we would even think about electing that fucking living muppet is just beyond me. Like, think about who this person is. He has been an ongoing joke in mainstream American culture for the last 30 years, ever since I was born in the 80s. He was this joke of an investor, billionaire guy, this crazy guy. And to think that if you had told me 20 years ago that guy was going to be running for president and might get it, I'd be like, you're out of your fucking mind. Go check yourself into a wacko bin.
He did win the match against Vince McMahon and shaved his head. So.
It's true, yeah.
That's true. And he also helped that McAllister kid find his way
Yeah,
home.
he did that too.
So that's
He's helped many an apprentice get on their feet.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. This is my problem. Is I have my ballots, I have my mail-in ballots, and so I have to figure out this weekend, not necessarily this weekend, but that's the designated time my wife has said we are voting. I'm sure Matt's familiar with this. You're the only other married person here.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I got a Google email, like a Google message, calendar invite saying we're gonna vote on Saturday.
Oh no, yeah, I have a little place. Yeah, there's a place in my neighborhood. I'm not.
I like to go out on the day, election
Yeah.
day.
Get
I
you a
don't
little
want to
sticker.
mail it in. I want
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sticker.
yeah.
I want to go. We live in an awkward thing where you go to just some rando garage, somebody's house.
No one even knows who they're really
bunch of
counting.
16-year-olds working it. They don't ask for anything. Which one are you? You point at your name. Go vote. Okay, great.
Yeah, but there's no voter fraud.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. I got to make the decision. I don't know if I can vote for Clinton, so I might have to go third party. I don't know. We'll see. If Gary Johnson
why?
wasn't so fucking crazy, because Clinton's, I don't trust her either, man. I mean, like she's done some crazy shit. There's a lot of speculation out there as to whether she's had a guy killed. Like there's shit like that that you're like, it's
Big
it
Kev
could be
Dog's
bullshit,
popping up.
but it also could be bullshit that Trump didn't molest these women. Like,
But I mean, like that. But those aren't hand in hand. It's like I feel like the Trump stuff is like clearly you're not voting for Trump, right? So it's like then with Clinton, it's more about questioning all that stuff and deciding whether or not you.
well,
can
and
do
that's what
that.
I have to do. I have to actually go back and I haven't really paid too closely attention to her platform, so I have to go back and actually look. I don't think I voted Democrat. Yeah, I did. I voted for Obama. So
Obama.
I'm not against voting Democrat. I just don't. There's something about the Clintons that I just don't trust. There's something about a governor of Arkansas that rises to be president of the United States and has there's lots of conspiracy theories as to him being tied to drug runners and shit like that. And then all of a sudden a whistleblower for the DNC gets killed outside of the party headquarters. It's like this crazy shit that's happened underneath the Clintons' kind of iron rule. So I'm not saying that it's good or right or wrong to vote for them, but it does give you pause, like on both sides. And I don't know whether or not it's that these two people are particularly despicable or that there's just so much free information running out there that we know everything now, and that every candidate that's running is fucking crazy. Like the shit that I've heard Gary Johnson say, you're like, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's one
It's
word.
crazy shit. But I don't know. So I got to do my research this weekend and probably vote for Clinton.
Greg?
No change. Got to stop Trump. Voting Clinton. Gave her money after that first debate. Liked her performance. From everything I saw in the little things of debate 2, I was in Canada at the time. Seems like she did well there too. But again, it was more just give Trump all the rope in the world to hang himself. And then everything else continues and you're just like, this is some kind of waking nightmare. I don't know how this is still happening and what's going on
It makes you
here.
feel crazy, right? Because
Yeah.
you're like, I don't understand how other people can look at that and be like, yeah. You're like, this is a fucking psychopath. Like, he is a megalomaniac, socio-psychopath. Like, sitting on stage and we've given him a fucking microphone, and people are like, yeah, this guy speaks for me. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, is really that there's that much of this country that is completely prejudiced, bigoted, and racist. Like they want to get behind this guy. It's
We'll
fucking
get into that in a minute because that's the stuff I want to talk about in a little while. But to both your points, because you guys were talking about the debate, you guys are actually in the significant minority of people that think that Clinton won that debate.
But you're talking about pundits, right?
Yeah,
I bring up the pundits. The thing I saw from all my friends was Clinton. Now,
You're
granted,
incredibly biased.
Echo chamber.
Clinton friends. I walked away from both debates thinking that they were both draws. And those were unpopular opinions. I was actually really surprised when I walked away from the second debate, and I'm like, I seemed like that was actually one of Trump's stronger performances, but I'd still call it a draw because Clinton is a strong performer. When I was watching a lot of the punditry and reading a lot of the things, especially from a lot of liberals, they were like, that was Trump's best performance, and Clinton clearly didn't win that debate.
I don't think those things are like the. I think that was one of his better performances. I think that she's still completely trounced.
Well, she outclasses him a lot.
She looks like an adult.
Like a president.
He was very strong, and I actually think I have to watch it again, and I will because I'm weird, but he had her frazzled like multiple times, and the shit he was doing
broke though.
No, but the shit he was doing was working.
So
which makes me
behind her.
I like Saturday Night Live.
Threatening to get her arrested was like the most wow shots fired thing ever.
That was
and
extremely.
That's a guy that's running to be president, and anyone can look at that and be like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted out about that too. I found that quite troubling. Tim's referring to when Trump said that he would have a special prosecutor looking at Clinton if he was elected. It seems a bit of a totalitarian kind of thing to do. That's the right, of course, the president and the prerogative of Congress to do that kind of thing. But I don't think that you should be threatening your opponent in a presidential race to jail. It does reek of totalitarianism. Matt, do you have any thoughts? Because you weren't here last time. Obviously, what do you think's gonna? What are your feelings?
Here's the thing. I mean, I have not been. I'll be honest with you. I actually don't vote.
Really?
Yes. That's why I was really. Okay, don't kill Jesus. God, look at that. No, because your eyes just like.
Oh no, I'm just.
Colin went to a dark place for a second.
No, I know.
He's back.
Did
He's
you see him?
He's back,
He went to like literally.
That is your prerogative. I don't believe in compulsory voting, so that's your prerogative.
Right. So my problem is that I have been actually paying attention a little bit now, but I don't know who I would vote for because I'm scared of both choice, like really primary choices. Like I don't know. Like some of me thinks like if Hillary Clinton did get in trouble, do you think she would just go home and be like, what would you do, buddy? Since you kind of had this helm, and he's like, I would just get a blowjob. No, but do you know what I mean? Like basically, would she actually make her own decisions or not? And basically, would she, or I don't know. It's a mind fuck. I can't believe Trump is actually running either. I can't believe that.
Well, I mean, that's the thing with the president, right?
It's just,
like you don't expect the president
joke.
to know everything, and that's why they put together a team.
No, they have the
people
whole team, but I mean, like,
who can support them. And you better bet
is he
that Bill
just
will probably
running
be
to
there.
make her look better? I don't. Does he really want to be president? I don't know. It's a mind fuck for me.
Who, Trump?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Would he really be? I mean,
We'll
if he
never know.
won,
We'll
what the
never
fuck
know,
would he do?
Because he's a liar, and even if he said that later, no one would believe him. Even if he said later, he's like, I started this as a joke, but now it's real. Who the fuck cares? It doesn't matter. It's a
spent all the
reality,
money.
and it's a
Well, it is
possibility,
real,
and everyone
yeah.
should realize that.
Yeah. No. I know. You can judge me.
I'm not judging. I didn't expect that from
Why?
you.
What would you have expected for me to
expect you
come
to
out
vote.
swinging?
No, not to have a solid opinion or whatever.
No.
I expect you to vote.
I mean, I might, but
Scarpino's not very political family.
here's my. Well, that's not. Lately, that's not true.
That's true.
You and I don't give a shit sometimes, but let's get Dad on the show and Colin will fall asleep.
I mean, everyone will fall asleep. If we
I
get
think everybody will fall asleep. They'll be like this.
I love my
They'll
father.
just
to death.
Patreon will just pause
dad
for
will go
like
down
10
a-
minutes while people are like, "Is this really an exclusive? Holy shit!"
Yeah, they were like, so
Yeah.
I learned a lot about taxes today.
and spreadsheets.
And spreadsheets. I know Excel.
Spreadsheets. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Something I want to talk to you guys about. So both of you brought up the idea of being scared of both the people. I don't really understand. Like being scared of Trump, I understand, but being scared of Clinton, like she just seems like more of the same to me. Where it's just all right, she's just more of the same that we've always had, and it's like, have we been scared before of this stuff? Like,
Well, no, it's not necessarily be scared. It is one of those of just looking at her and knowing that A, she's a career politician. B, she has she is going to be more of the same, and that is a scary thought because more of the same has led us to the biggest economical crisis since the Great Depression, the housing crisis, and she's got huge ties to Wall Street and to bankers, things like that. So you look at her and you think, sure, we're going to put another president in the office, but is there any good that's going to come out of that, or is it just going to be stasis? Is it going to be, are we going to see something that we all thought Obama was going to be, or is it just going to be Obama? Not to say that Obama was good or bad, and I know that's not the topic, but I mean, personally, I think he actually people give Obama a lot of shit, and I think he'll be remembered far better than people think of him right now. But for Clinton, I mean, you look at it and you're like, maybe she'll do some good stuff, maybe she won't do some good stuff. But ultimately, she's still backed by money somewhere, and that money's going to have an influence. And that influence, you better believe, is not going to go toward the American people. And that's the thing I think that's so frustrating, is that when you look at a candidate like Trump, if it just wasn't Trump, that person could actually potentially affect real change because he's not biased. He's not influenced by anyone. No one's got, they're not stuffing dollar bills into his pocket. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Now, granted, I think Donald Trump probably has a lot of friends who are in high places that would pull favors for him, so I don't think he's that candidate. But it's just disappointing to see us get that close, and then when he opens his mouth, he spouts out some of the most outrageous shit you've ever heard someone say, and that person could be the most powerful person on the planet. And make no mistake, I happen to think the president of the United States is probably the most powerful person on the planet. So think about that in terms of, think about what I just said, and then think of Donald Trump's face, and tell me that doesn't wake you up at night and terrify you. Especially when he's homies with Putin, just hanging out shirtless on a horse with Putin, just chilling, practicing judo. That's what they do.
That's what they do apparently.
In Russia.
If you didn't know, judo.
I didn't.
Russia, a hotbed for judo activity.
Yeah.
Tim Gettys.
Shirtless horseback riding.
So I'm of a similar mind that I was last time. I think Clinton's going to win. And the polls historically in political science tighten before an election. So I'm interested to see the polls in about 2 weeks. And of course the polling, like the snap polling that happens after the debate tomorrow, especially if Trump's desperate, and I think he's going to be desperate. I think the debate tomorrow is going to be pretty crazy.
Do you think you think we've seen the last of it? Of the chaos of the accusations?
No,
come
because so there's no, definitely not. There's a few things that I've been talking to people recently, and people that are into this stuff like I am, and starting to draw some preliminary conclusions. And no one's gone to the ballot box yet. I think that there are definitely shy Trump voters. We went into that last time, and so I think that you can probably safely add 3 or 4 points to whatever Trump's going to poll at, and that's what he's actually going to get, because there are people that are afraid to admit that they're going to vote for him, and every Clinton voter is known, so there are no secret Clinton voters. Now, people can swing from independent or from Johnson or Jill Stein or something and vote for her or vote for him. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it's pretty safe to assume that she's going to win. If she doesn't, the polling is so catastrophically wrong that we shouldn't even poll anymore. That's like we were talking about last time about the UK and Brexit and all those kinds of how those polls were wrong. Those polls were wrong by 4, 5, 6 points. These polls will be wrong by like 10 points. That means that the polling is basically just a guess at that point. Mm-hmm. So there's something to be concerned about there. With that said, what's becoming clear is that no one likes Hillary Clinton. And what I mean by that is that Hillary Clinton has this ceiling that's not even 50 points. Like, she's not even getting half of the American people to vote for her. Hillary Clinton is going to be president because of who she's running against. She would have lost almost any reasonable candidate. And that's becoming so clear. And I was talking about that with someone recently where I was like, we knew as conservatives that this moment was going to happen. And we just thought we would have a better champion than what we ended up having, a champion so terrible that I actually left the Republican Party over it. Because I can't possibly be with Trump.
Why'd you do this to us, Mitt Romney?
Mitt Romney could have came in, or just almost anyone else. So, I always challenge people. They're like, I like Hillary Clinton. She's not that bad. I'm like, name one thing she did as a senator. One thing. Yeah, like no one.
To be fair, I couldn't name one thing any senator's done.
Well, there's landmark legislation or things that people did. Like what did Hillary do other than carpet bag to my home state and use it toward a political gain? She did fucking nothing. So, like, that disturbs me. Like, for a lot of New York conservatives, and there are many of us, she is a disturbing figure. Even though New York's going to vote for Hillary Clinton, it's going to be New York City that's going to vote for her. Long Island is almost certainly going to go for Trump, and upstate obviously is going to go for Trump as well. The one thing that I feel like is missing, though, in this election is, and I think that this is important information, this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about, is a lack of empathy for the people that vote for Trump. Now, this is something that's actually starting to annoy me. In a major way. I'm not saying that I support Donald Trump, because I don't. I don't support a lot of the things that are coming out of his mouth. I think he's clearly xenophobic. I think he's clearly sexist. And I think he clearly has bigoted tendencies. I think that's obvious. But to parlay that on an entire group of people, tens of millions of people, is, I think, becoming a troubling thing. And I think it's becoming it's troubling me with the lack of empathy and sincere concern that we have for other people in this country. And I printed out 2 things. One of them, I actually watched a video and transcribed it from this morning because I was so touched by it and so moved by it that I was like, I need to share this with what someone said about Donald Trump supporters. But above and beyond that, before we get to that, I just feel like people need to learn how to separate the candidate from the people that support that candidate, and the issues from the people that might support some issues but not other issues. The example I use all the time, and I think it's a totally salient issue, it's the same exact thing, is so people are like, well, if you vote for Trump, then you must support the things he said about Mexicans, for instance. And I'm like, okay, if you voted for Barack Obama in 2008, you were against gay marriage. If you voted for Bill Clinton in 1996, you didn't even believe that gay people should be able to serve openly in the military. We can all play that game, right? We can all certainly play that game. But sometimes people, like a candidate for certain reasons or very specific reasons, and they don't care about or they don't pay attention to, or they're so desperate that they don't care about those other issues that trouble someone like me, who's in, frankly, a much more secure place financially, who's one of the coastal elites or whatever. I'm from New York. I was educated in Boston. I live in San Francisco. I do not have a glimpse into middle America, into the Rust Belt, into blue collar America, the way that a lot of Trump supporters do. And so I wanted to read this to you guys. I know some people get mad when I read things for a few minutes, but this is really important, and I want you guys to listen. There's two things here that I want you guys to hear. The first one is from Mike Barnacle. He's a writer for Boston. He's for the Boston Globe now. Liberal, unabashed liberal guy. He's on Morning Joe all the time, which is a show I really like. Was accused of plagiarism, I think, in the 90s, actually. But he's a smart dude. And here's what he said about Trump supporters today on Morning Joe. Too many people in the media, our business, coastal elites, where a lot of people live or who are in our business, don't understand the loss that's taken place in this country over the last 20 or 25 years. Specifically, if you have a 20-year-old son today serving in Iraq or Afghanistan, that child was 5 years old when this war began. That's 15, 16 years ago. Then along comes the winter of 2008 and 2009 when another loss occurs that shakes the foundation of the culture of the country. People lose homes, they lose incomes, they lose jobs, they're unemployed, they lose their 401k, they lose their life savings. And what are they thinking along the course of these years? They're thinking this: they have no voice in government, that they are represented by a professional political class who just keep running for re-election and raising money to enhance their own futures and their own present status. But they don't talk about their lives, and what do they read, and what do they hear now lately in the last year? If they go to a Trump rally, they're not going to a Trump rally to listen to a guy who they sort of like what he says without paying attention to who he is. They hear and read in the papers that they're probably racist for going to the Trump rally, and that they take great offense to this, and they ought to take great offense. We don't understand their lives, and we don't cover their lives. And I thought that was a really interesting and totally salient thing about Trump supporters. We here at this table don't understand what it's like to live in a Rust Belt town in Ohio where the fucking coal factory or the coal mine is shut down and everything's fucked for all of them. Everything. They live in the town. Town X in Ohio has a coal mine. The EPA rips the coal mine, doesn't allow the coal mine to exist anymore. The coal miners are out of jobs. The people that work at the convenience store are now out of jobs. The people that work at the gas station are out of jobs. All the service industries are out of jobs, and no one has any money, and they're all fucked. And all they want to hear is someone come in and blast the people that they feel like did it to them, and whether or not that they're right in that the Washington, D.C. is corrupt and the liberal policies have done this to them. It's not neither here nor there. We have to understand more about where these people come from and why they're voting for this man and why they don't trust the political elite and why they don't trust politicians and Washington and all these things, because they fucked them, And that's one of the things where I feel like we don't understand that in San Francisco. We don't have that problem. We have one of the most bustling economies in the entire world in this city. I don't understand that where I come from in New York, on Long Island, in the shadow of the biggest city, one of the biggest cities and most profitable cities in the world. Or I went to school in Boston, which is a very affluent, collegiate place. But I tell you right now, in Gary, Indiana, they know that. In West Virginia, they hear it. And I feel like we have to have a little more empathy for these people than to say like they're racist and they're bigots and they're xenophobes. They're not. There are some of them that are. I can point out some fucking cartoon characters on the other side too. Greg and I walked through Sugati Park during the fucking height of Occupy Wall Street. That was as cartoonish as that came off of on TV, and I think we can both agree on that there. But I never walked around and said, those people are fucking stupid. Those people are fucking pieces of shit. I looked at it and I'm like, you're wrong. You have no idea what you're talking about. And maybe you can say that about Trump supporters. But to demonize this whole group of people after an election and then expect everyone to come back into the fold, what you're going to see after this election because of this kind of shit is a very divisive country where nothing gets done. Hillary Clinton's not going to get fucking shit done.
But I mean, that is the country, and that's what's been
me.
Politics is normal forever. I do have empathy for these people. I feel fucking sorry for them. I'm sorry that they are so disenfranchised that they can be duped this easily. And the Trump supporters I do see on my Facebook are the ones I feel the most sorry for. Family members who have been duped into this fucking bullshit that is the racist bullshit, that is the racist tirade, that is posting a fucking meme asking if President Obama is a Muslim and where his birth certificate is still to this day. Like, that's what I'm talking about. That's where it comes from. Sure, you're talking about like demonizing this whole thing. Of course, this is the problem. This is the problem when I see these fucking people talking out their ass about the fact of like, oh, I can't believe we're letting Muslims into this country when they did this. When you're talking about, well, look at any other fucking not the Unabomber, but any other mass murderer who's a Christian. I can suddenly demonize all Christians based on the actions of the one bad person spoiling the bunch. And that's the problem, is that this is never cut and dry. But when you're screaming about how terrible Trump is and that he's a bigot and that if you're going to follow him into this, you're following somebody like Hitler and da-da-da-da. It's extreme. It's too far, of course, but it's trying to talk and trying to get through to these people that have gone so far around the bend that they think that this snake oil salesman is speaking to them, that Donald Trump knows shit about Gary, Indiana, that Donald Trump knows shit about being a blue-collar worker. As you know, my father, this construction worker, this blue-collar guy in a union and all this other stuff. And I'm not at all, as you know, and as the listeners know, am I trying to claim that I understand what it's like to do that or be there or to be in Gary or be in a coal mine. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I feel sorry for the people who have fallen for that, line of bullshit, that have looked at Trump and see him come in and are so fucked. And don't get me wrong, this is what I've been saying for years. If you watch our shit throughout the years of what I fucking hate about politics is that nothing gets done. Everyone is a grin fucker. Nobody is saying anything or making any real change here. And this is what I keep saying about what I like about this election is Bernie Sanders, is Donald Trump, not as people, not as platforms, but as things to come out and say from here on out. I really, 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 really do believe that it's going to be, all right, cool, I'm running for mayor, I'm running for Senate, I'm running for president from here on out, and I'm going to be a normal person, and I'm going to finally get back to the America and the politics you believe in, Colin, right? Because that's always been the thing with you. When I first met you and you were a Republican, I was like, how can you be a Republican? They're anti-gay, thay and you're like, well, I'm not. I don't agree on those issues. But we are so far from that part. We are so far from that America where we're talking about Colin and Greg Live today, where there can be compromise, where there can be discussion, where I can be Republican, Tim can be a Democrat, and we can come across the aisle and actually get legislation done. Because everything's fucked, and everything's been fucked forever. Nothing is going to be unfucked by this election. And that's the problem, and that's what it comes down to with this, right, is the fact that I'm voting for Hillary Clinton. I'm, of course, as everyone knows, not super briefed on the Benghazi, on this. I mean, I know I've read a headline, I've read an article here and there. I don't understand how people can hate her as much as they hate Donald Trump, but that's fine. It's beside the point. I'm not voting for her because she's the change I believe in. I felt for that with Obama. Obama was the guy when he came through and was talking about hope, and he was young and hopeful, and I was like, here we go. It's our generation's JFK. This is going to be the guy who gets back in there and brings us back together in some fucking way, and it didn't happen. And I don't put it all on him. I put it all on politics as usual. I put it all on everybody else coming in and wanting to gridlock the system and not let anything get done because nobody wants to compromise. And we are to a point where all we do is scream at each other when it comes to political shit, whether it be, and that's the whole thing with the pundits, whether it's MSNBC or Fox News or whoever, it's all the fucking same now, where everybody just talks, and none of it's worth a goddamn cent. And that's the thing here, where the problem, back to the point, I'm sorry to get so far down on this thing, is the fact that I have empathy for these people. I feel fucking sorry for them. I understand that things have gone wrong, but you are being duped. And I think that's where the hyperbole comes out, where people start trying to say that if you follow this man, you are X. Of course not. Of course, that's some of those people are for sure. I can give you examples of those people that have done that or that I've seen or have talked to that are that. Not everyone is, but you say that trying to get to the last bastion of these people's humanity and intelligence to realize that no, you're being fucking played.
Yep. First of all, kudos to you. That was a fantastic, and I mean that with all due respect. You know.
That'd be great if it was total sarcasm.
No, I've never heard you get so political, and I think you hit on a lot of salient points, and a lot of important points. To me, I don't necessarily disagree with you that the people are being duped, that there are people being duped out there, and that Trump is a snake oil salesman. I think that's obvious, right? That was obvious to me very early on. I'm actually really kind of proud of myself that I bailed before he even won the primary, because I was like, and I voted for John Kasich even after he dropped out, because I'm like, he's the only reasonable person that represents some brand of republicanism the way I grew up with it. And we grew up as New York Republicans, a little bit more moderate and a little more liberal than the most Republicans. I get that. But we had Rudy Giuliani comes from New York City. He's a fucking Republican. George Pataki was our governor in New York. He's a Republican. But you wouldn't even Mitt Romney. These people are not really recognizable as Republicans anymore. And so I agree with you there. But I just don't like walking around acting like, watching one group of people think that they have the high ground on this other group of people when they do not understand them, and their vote counts just as much as another person's vote, and their opinions really do carry as much water and as much weight to me as another person's opinion, even if they're a blue collar. Because what it really comes down to a lot for me, and this is just being fucking honest, and this is putting it all on the table, is that there's a lot of fucking bigotry on the coast about people that live in the middle of the country, that might live in a trailer, that might live in a small home. you know, that might work in a fucking coal mine. You know, where the hell does your food come from? You know, where does your fuel come from? Where do your natural resources come from? They sure as hell don't come from fucking San Francisco, you know? And that's the thing where I feel like people need to like wake up to the fact that like we all need each other. And we have to figure out a new way to talk about each other and understand these people. And that's where, you know, a lot of people have been circulating to me, and I know we're going along here, but I want to end on this. I mean, I don't personally care, but because I know people get upset. There was a Cracked article by this guy named David Wong. I don't usually read Cracked, but a lot of people were linking me to this article, and so I finally read it. It's called How Half of America Lost Its Fucking Mind. And it's a really, really, really great piece, and I've cut out a few excerpts of it that I wanted to read, but I also really encourage people to go read it. And on their own view counter, it's got almost like 4 million views or something.
I even read it.
Yeah, and this really gave me a lot of perspective and almost put tears in my eyes when I was reading it, you know, in a sense, because... Well, I'll read it, and so here's what it says. And the guy David Wong, from his perspective, grew up in one of these Trump communities, and he like, you know, he's like a screenwriter or something now. He got out or whatever. He says, as a kid, visiting Chicago was like Katniss visiting the Capitol, or like Zoe visiting the city of the future in this ridiculous book. I don't know what he's talking about. Their ways are strange, and the whole goddamn world revolves around them. Every TV show is about LA or New York, maybe with some Chicago or Baltimore thrown in. When they did make a show about us, we were jokes, either wide-eyed, naive fluffballs like Parks and Recreation, and before that, Newhart. I love Newhart. Or filthy, murderous mutants, True Detective, and before that, Deliverance. You could feel the arrogance from hundreds of miles away. Nothing that happens outside of this city matters, they say at their cocktail parties, blissfully unaware of where their food is grown. Hey, remember when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans? Kind of weird that a big hurricane hundreds of miles across managed to snipe one specific city and avoid anything else. To watch the news or the multiple movies and TV shows about it, you'd barely hear about how the storm utterly steamrolled rural Mississippi, killing 238 people and doing an astounding $125 billion in damage. But who cares about those people, right? What's newsworthy about a bunch of toothless hillbillies crying over a flattened trailer? New Orleans is culturally important. It matters. To those ignored, suffering people, Donald Trump is a brick chucked through the window of the elites. Are you assholes listening now? That was one section he wrote. And the second one says, they're getting the shit kicked out of them. I know, I was there. Step out of the side of the city and the suicide rates among young people fucking doubles. The recession pounded rural communities, but all the recovery went to the cities. The rate of new businesses opening in rural areas has utterly collapsed. See, rural jobs used to be based around one big local business, a factory, a coal mine, etc. When it dies, the town dies. Where I grew up, it was an oil refinery closing that did us in. I was raised in the hollowed out shell of what the town had once been. The roof of our high school leaked when it rained. Cities can make up for the loss of manufacturing jobs with service jobs. Small towns cannot. That model doesn't work below a certain population density. If you don't live in one of these small towns, you can't understand the hopelessness. The vast majority of people's possible careers involve moving to the city, and around every city is a now 100-foot wall called cost of living. Let's say you're a smart kid making $8 an hour at Walgreens and aspire to greater things. Fine, get ready to move yourself and your new baby into a 700 square foot apartment for $1,200 a month, and to then pay double what you're paying now for utilities, groceries, and babysitters. Unless, of course, you're planning to move to one of those neighborhoods, and those in quotes. In a city, you can plausibly aspire to start a band or become an actor or get a medical degree. You can actually have dreams. In a small town, there may be no venues for performing arts aside from country music bars and churches. There may be only 2 doctors in town. Aspiring to that job means waiting for one of them to retire or die. You open the classifieds and all the job listings will be for fast food or convenience stores. The downtown is just the corpses of mom and pop shops left shattered in Walmart's blast crater. The suburbs are trailer parks. There are parts of these towns that look post-apocalyptic. I'm telling you, the hopelessness eats you alive. And if you dare complain, some liberal elite will pull out their iPad and type up a rant about your racist white privilege. Already someone has replied to this with a comment saying, you should try living in a ghetto as a minority. Exactly. To them, it seems like the plight of poor minorities is only used as a club to bat away bat away white cries for help. Meanwhile, the rate of rural white suicides and overdoses skyrockets. Shit, at least politicians act like they care about the inner cities. And then the final thing he said, and these are fragments. It really does feel like the worst of both worlds. All the ravages of poverty, but none of the sympathy. Quote, blacks burn police cars and those liberal elites say it's not their fault because they're poor. My son gets jailed and fired over a baggie of meth, and those same elites make jokes about his missing teeth, end quote. You're everyone's punching bag, one of society's last remaining safe comedy targets. They take it hard. These are people who come from a long line of folks who took pride in looking after themselves. Where I'm from, you weren't a real man unless you could repair a car, patch a roof, hunt your own meat, and defend your home from an intruder. It was a source of shame to be dependent on anyone, especially the government. You mowed your own lawn and fixed your own pipes when they leaked. You hauled your own firewood in your own pickup truck. The rural folk with the Trump signs in their yards say their way of life is dying, and you smirk and say what they really mean is that blacks and gays are finally getting equal rights and they hate it. But I'm telling you, they say their way of life is dying because their way of life is dying. It's not their imagination. No movie about the future portrays it as being full of traditional families, hunters, and coal mines. Well, except for the Hunger Games, and now is depicted as an apocalypse. So yes, they vote for the guy promising to put things back the way they were, the guy who'd be a wake-up call to the Blue Islands. They voted for the brick through the window. It was a vote of desperation. And that piece really almost made me cry when I was reading it. And it's uncracked, and he makes jokes in there and every once in a while. But if you even read the comments, a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck that's like. You know? What do I know? I come from Long Island. I grew up in a house with a 2-car garage. You know? Like, these people wouldn't have never even swam in an in-ground pool that was in my backyard. You know? And all I'm trying to say is, are there bad people amongst them? Yes, you can find plenty of videos of people spouting terrible shit about Muslim people or black people or whatever at these rallies. But I'm telling you, most of those people that go through those doors are just people like you and me trying to get by, you know? And they have everything working against them. And so all I ask people out there to say is, like, show a little bit of fucking empathy for these people, you know? Especially after the election. There's no reason to gloat, and there's no reason to fucking parade around, because you're just going to make it fucking worse. And if that kind of shit happens, Donald Trump will be back. And I'm not saying someone like Donald Trump will be back. I'm saying Donald Trump will be back. And if things do not go right by 2020, he will win. And he'll come back in 2018 and be like, I fucking told you. You know, exactly what was going to happen, and he'll win. So we have to heal these divides in this country that go far beyond race or sex and all these things, these terrible things. And Donald Trump, I'm not saying Donald Trump's a good man. I'm not saying Donald Trump is saying anything that's right. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I understand where these people are coming from a lot more than I did a year ago. And I have a lot of fucking empathy for them, and I feel bad for them. And we can sit around and say, like, oh, us college-educated people, you guys are being duped. But that's their fucking reality. And
I just don't, I mean, I agree, like, every single thing in that article, I understand and makes sense to me. What I don't understand is what's Donald Trump saying to them. Like,
Donald Trump says to them, Donald Trump comes in and says, like, the EPA is going to crush your coal mine. You know, I'll keep it open. And everyone in that town's like, great, now I don't have to be fucked anymore. You know? Mm-hmm. Or he goes into a manufacturing town and says, like, Carrier Air Conditioner left Indianapolis and fired 3,000 people. We're going to start charging them with tariffs so that they don't leave anymore. And then you don't have to be fucked anymore. Those 3,000 people that lost their jobs, let's say all of them have nuclear families of 3 other people. That's 12,000 people that are being affected by this. So not only the people that work at Carrier are going to be with him, now their wives are going to be with him, now their aunt is going to be with them, their grandma, their mom. It doesn't, I really feel like because of an inherently racist, or I'm sorry, not racist, an inherently biased media that is completely in the tank for Clinton. I've never seen anything like it. Totally, the WikiLeaks shit's coming out, all this shit's coming out, all they want to talk about is Donald Trump. Right? They'll do anything. The 3 versus 1 thing where you said that was fair, that's not fair. You know, they didn't challenge anything Clinton said. They didn't ask anything about.
She answered questions. He didn't answer questions. They were challenging him answering the question. Yeah, they were moderating, asking questions. She'd answer. He wouldn't answer. Yeah, but he would just say emails. But she was saying, I'm going to arrest you.
She was saying things that weren't true too, though. I mean, PolitiFact played that out, and they could have easily gone after her. I'm not saying
that. Question about, but she answered them, whether or not it was true or not. She answered it. He didn't answer the things. The thing about there's a difference here to me where it's like nobody is voting for Clinton because she might have killed someone or whatever, and because of the Benghazi and because of all this. There are people voting for Donald Trump because he's a bigot and racist. Sure. That's disturbing.
Sure, there absolutely are. I'm just saying that you can't paint with a broad brush this entire group of people that are fucking desperate. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, they're just desperate, you know? And so, like I said, there are some racists and some bigots and all those kinds of things. That's going to happen in a more conservative, frankly, society where they don't want societal change. They don't want gay marriage. They don't want. I understand that. I'm not defending it. All I'm saying is that, like, we have to, like, people in general have to stop giving these people the finger. You know, like, bring them along with us. This is what I always said about gay marriage. When I've been a long time supporter of gay marriage, long before anyone in the Republican Party was for it. And what's so ironic about someone like Donald Trump is he stood at the I couldn't even believe this, where he stood at the convention talking about how he wants gay and lesbian rights, how he wants all these things, and I was like, what? Like, you have to be the guy that fucking says this first, not someone that can win. You know, like so.
Well, don't count him out yet. He very well might.
So to me, it's just like, I want to just speak out there to all those people. I'm not defending anything that he said. My own record is clear. Like I spoke with my feet by walking away from a party that I once worshipped growing up, that I once really believed in. And it doesn't exist anymore. And I recognize and acknowledge that. And I want to be part of rebuilding the GOP or rebuilding a new party that speaks for people like me. So I'm not saying that Donald Trump's the answer. And I'm not saying Donald Trump's going to fix these guys. He walks in, he doesn't know the first thing about getting the EPA off those coal mines. That's not what's important. What he's saying is that he's going to do it. And since what you were saying was that it doesn't matter if she's telling the truth, well, it certainly doesn't matter if he is either. These people are hearing what they want to hear. And when they go to a rally to hear the man say, your car, the car manufacturers are not going to invert anymore, or whatever's going on, invert their businesses and go to another country to save money or whatever. They just want a job. They just want a career. They don't want a bureaucrat in Washington saying, we'll give you, hey, 55-year-old man that worked at a car company for 30 years, we're gonna train you to do something else. The guy's like, I'm 55. I just want a secure job so I can retire like I was promised, 30 years ago. He's not out to hurt a gay person. He's not out to hurt a black person. He doesn't even care. I really feel like the normal person that's voting for them, and I just want to show empathy for those people.
I hear you.
It's not even sympathy; it's just empathy.
It's sympathy for me, and it's feeling sorry for them again. And I think what you're saying is they just want this. And for me, a lot of times, and what this is coming down to with Trump supporters that aren't in the I'm crazy racist whatever camp, is that they just want the easy answer. And none of this has easy answers. And my example of this is like we're talking now about something I do know incredibly well when living in Missouri, in the liberal town of Columbia, Missouri, then going out to Hallsville, going out to Mexico, Missouri, going out to Boonville and covering for the newspaper, whether it was the Columbia Tribune, whether it was the Columbia Missourian, and living in that community for 5.5 years and knowing what it's like to go to Hallsville and have that be a town that fucking revolves around the basketball team and Friday night football, or going to Hermantown and it's all about the wineries and all these different things, right? Like, I'll never forget being in downtown Boonville where they were having a rally to try to stop the Walmart from moving in or whatever, the new Walmart they wanted to put out there or whatever. And I'm doing my job as a reporter. I'm being objective. This is taking this person, the rally side, getting the Walmart side, putting it all together for my article. But the fact of how terrified these people were about this coming in and taking out the small town business. Now, granted, it's hard to give you structure. Boonville, it's been a while. We'll say 30 minutes outside of downtown Columbia, not far. And in Columbia, there's now, I think, 5 Walmarts, maybe 4 supercenters. I don't know. It all runs together because I don't live there anymore. But at the time, Boonville, not far from a Walmart, to put a Walmart down there. But the terror in the main street, and they're already being closed up shops, and them being there saying, like, this is going to be so bad for local businesses, da-da-da-da-da. The problem is that it's what we always talk about, and I'm being very reductive here, obviously. These are huge problems, but it's what we talk about with video games, a vote with your wallet. The reason Boonville's Main Street collapses is the fact that the community stops going to Main Street. They go to Walmart. If everybody who's at this rally is like, I'm not going to go to Walmart because it's easier and it's cheaper and it's this, I will go to Hank's toolbox down here and get whatever the hammer I need that keep Hank in business. But when they give up the ground and they go and they have that one moment where they're like, oh, I'm already here and I'm buying something else, I might as well get the hammer here and not go to Hank's. That's when everything starts collapsing upon itself. I feel like it's the same thing. Now, I'm stupid, as everyone knows. I'm not throwing that out there. I don't have a business degree. I don't have a community management degree or some shit like that where I can tell you how the people who are getting laid off from Carrier are able to do that. I would say don't buy Carrier products anymore, start a revolution and a campaign and do all these different things to try to stop that. But it's when you look to somebody, one person, to be the solution to that, when Trump would clearly come in and I doubt would keep the coal mine open or have the power to, probably through a million other things. But then on top of that, the fact of like how as a businessman whose ties are made in China and all this other, he's clearly just fucking lying. In the why I understand he sounds like the easy answer, but the solution here is that there are no easy answers. And it's the same thing with the divide we're talking about. You know what I mean? Even what you're saying of bring those people along with us, get them. I think that's when people are saying, he's a racist. How can you follow this guy and not be a racist? They're not trying to say they're the racists. They're trying to wake somebody up to get on their side and do it. It's not the best way, obviously. It needs to get closer and closer, and the ads get worse and worse, and the fervor gets worse and worse, and the debates are going to get worse and worse. That gets to this really, crazy tipping point. But then it is going to be the thing that you're talking about is like, if there's a fucking God, Donald Trump loses, right? And then it's going to be that he's still going to be spouting all this hate and trying to rally those troops. And it's going to be what does that. What I hope happens is what you're saying is like, yeah, his people are disenfranchised. And let's say even Trump wins, Clinton's people are disenfranchised. I'm hoping that when we get 4 years from now, we do have a candidate who is what we're talking about, who is let's bring this together. This is the good and that's bad, and I realize I should think both are good, but they're not. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully this is the wake up call, and if it is that Trump loses, I hope his disenfranchised base can find somebody who is giving real answers and real solution and real ideas.
Yeah. I feel like, I felt like with Bernie Sanders, who brought out a lot of vitriol on me because I thought he was just so off base. I felt like a lot of the things that he spoke to with people were very similar to what Trump says in the same vein. It's just that those people were from Massachusetts. Those people were from California. Those people were from Oregon. Those people weren't from necessarily Iowa. I'm not saying that they didn't exist there.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is like they were coastal elites talking to other coastal elites, and it's like a whole thing where it's like those kids were desperate too. But the difference is like I didn't go around walking around calling them Bolsheviks. Like I didn't walk around calling them, Stalin. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the difference. I think Bernie Sanders is fucking wrong. And I think the people that like followed him really were like, had a similar hopelessness about similar college debt or about how they're going to afford their health care and all those kinds of things. But I still had deep in me sympathy. I even had sympathy for me when
but
we
you
went
call
to
them like socialists, right? Which I mean, like, I know some of his policies are socialism.
He is
or
a
whatever.
socialist.
But I mean, like but then you're throwing that on the people who are supporting him and aren't socialists.
Sure.
Isn't that the same idea of them getting rallied up and then they're just taking that as bile?
Yeah.
Not to the level of you're a fucking racist and you're a bigot and da da da.
Yeah, but I mean, socialist isn't necessarily pejorative, and we have pieces of socialism in the United States. I mean, anyone can deny that. What I used to make fun of was when everyone was calling everything socialism when Bernie Sanders was running. I'm like, I'm sorry, the military is not socialist. The Romans weren't really socialists. I hate to tell you. So, I feel like, I've been guilty of it too in my own way, but never to the degree that I see, never ever to the degree that I see people talk about Trump supporters. And all I'm saying is these are human beings that mean just as much as you and I, that have the same dreams and aspirations. At the end of the day, everyone just wants a security. They want a job. They want a family that they can take care of and support. And so all I ask out there, it's the same thing where it's like the vitriol goes too far sometimes. It's fun to play games. And I talked plenty of shit about the candidate, Bernie Sanders. And I've talked plenty of shit about Donald Trump, the candidate. And I've talked plenty of shit about Hillary Clinton, the candidate. But I didn't trivialize tens of millions of people by reducing them to a fascist movement in Nazi Germany, for instance. You know what I mean? Everyone's saying like, I'm like, yeah, I see shades of fascism in what Trump does. I don't see shades of fascism in the Republican Party. I don't see shades of fascism in many of the supporters that don't even know what that means, right? This isn't the Weimar Republic, and Trump isn't Hitler. So like, we have to kind of ground those kinds of things and just learn a new way to talk to each other. And I want to put the foot forward with that as well. I can learn from that. I'm not trying to say I'm above reproach either. But I've certainly not thrown around the level of vitriol I've seen thrown around at Trump supporters, calling them fucking stupid and ignorant and rednecks and all these kinds of things. Hey, dude, like, that's not cool. You know what I mean? Like, that's just like, at some point, like, you wouldn't want to be where they are. And that was the point of the Cracked article, is like, if you were where they are, you'd be voting for Donald Trump too. And that's the only thing that I wanted to say. So I appreciate you guys, humoring me. We'll return to this maybe around the election and talk about it one more time. But just to see, but that was one of the major things that I walked away from recently. It's just like, and maybe it's just a lesson to be learned, is we're supposed to be like the same country.
Yeah, that went out the window a long time ago, though. It'll be interesting to see if we can ever get back to that.
So anyway, thank you all out there. I
I
hope it resonates with somebody.
I say it all the time, and I don't mean it as a joke. 9/11 was the last time we were unified on anything. And that was like such an amazing time because it was so horrible, but God, did it feel good to see one united America. And we made a lot of bad decisions. I mean, we did a lot. We didn't use it in the best way, but it was awesome that for one time, it seemed like everybody was on the same page in my lifetime, I should say. You know what I mean? I don't count the Iraq War. I was a little baby. Or second grader. I don't remember the political landscape. But that was, because I think it was bullshit before 9/11 with two sides fighting each other for stupid things and being petty children and getting elected and not doing a goddamn thing. And then 9/11 brought us together where it seemed like, cool, it is going to be bipartisan. We are going to work together. We're going to make things happen. And then, of course, we went back to business as usual with a few changes like the TSA.